The early 20th century was obsessed with speed. Steamships, automobiles, and railways had already collapsed the old world of distance. Now, human flight promised to shrink the entire planet. The United States entered the race for human flight with extraordinary promise, and yet, within just a few years of the Wright Brothers' breakthroughs, America's aviation industry found itself trapped, not by physics, but by paperwork, bound up in a tangle of patents, lawsuits, and royalties, all of which seemed set to ground progress before it could ever take off. On May 22, 1906, the U.S. Patent Office granted Orville and Wilbur Wright patent number 821393. This patent protected their unique system of lateral control, twisting a wing's trailing edges in opposite directions to keep balance, known as wing warping. In modern terms, this was the invention of the aileron. The patent's claims were written broadly, covering any method that achieved roll control through wing surfaces. That language, simple but sweeping, gave the Wrights enormous leverage over their rivals. When the Wrights demonstrated powered flight at Kitty Hawk in 1903 and again in Europe in 1908, they proved the dream of heavier-than-air flight, but also laid legal groundwork that would define who could fly and who could not. By 1909, the brothers formed the Wright Company, determined to enforce their patent rights. Glenn Curtiss, a talented builder experimenting with ailerons and lightweight engines, became their main rival. Between 1909 and 1917, the two sides fought a relentless series of legal battles. The Wrights argued that Curtiss's hinged flaps infringed their system. Curtiss countered that his design was different in structure and intent. In 1913, a federal court sided with the Wright Company, and in 1914, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals upheld that decision. The judgment effectively placed control of flight itself, lateral control, stability, maneuvering, under one corporate roof. As the Smithsonian's archival record later summarized, the years before World War I were spent in patent litigation. The Wrights' victory was complete, but it left the rest of the industry in legal limbo. While American companies hesitated, Europe surged ahead. In France, pioneers such as Louis Blériot and Henri Farman built their own aircraft unburdened by American patents. On July 25, 1909, Blériot crossed the English Channel in just 37 minutes. Within months, the French military was funding entire flight schools and testing squadrons. Germany embraced dirigibles, carrying tens of thousands of passengers safely between 1911 and 1914. In the United States, by contrast, potential investors feared injunctions. Small inventors feared ruinous lawsuits. Aircraft factories closed. Patent protection achieved its purpose of rewarding the inventor, but at a cost of stifling progress. In 1916, the United States still lacked a functioning aircraft industry. That December, the newly formed Wright-Martin Company, which had purchased the Wrights' patent rights, announced that any manufacturer wishing to build planes must pay a 5% royalty on each unit and guarantee $10,000 per year in minimum payments. For small companies, those figures were catastrophic. Newspapers called it a tax on invention itself. Several firms closed rather than comply. Even the U.S. Army found itself caught between competing claims. Engineers at McCook Field reported they could not test certain control systems without infringing the Wright patent. When the nation needed innovation most, aircraft builders fought over permission to build. The breaking point came in 1917. As the U.S. prepared to enter World War I, the Signal Corps urgently needed thousands of aircraft, but litigation made that impossible. The National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, urged the government to intervene. Under pressure from the War Department, the major patent holders, Wright-Martin and Curtiss, were forced to cooperate. The result was the Manufacturers Aircraft Association, a compulsory patent pool. Every member could use essential patents by paying a flat $200 per airplane, regardless of design. Of that amount, 67% went to Wright-Martin, 20% to Curtiss, and the rest covered administration. WIPO's historical record later summarized. The United States government established the Manufacturers Aircraft Association to cross-license their airplane technologies through a patent pool. The arrangement broke the deadlock. In a single year, production expanded from a few dozen aircraft to more than 10,000. The legal wars were over, replaced by the actual Great War.